Hulk Hogan has always been one of the biggest stars in the world of wrestling, and his reputation precedes itself. However, when it comes to his reputation, there are some issues as well, as the star's being famous for having told several lies in the past to inflate others' opinions about himself. The star has become rather infamous because of some of the lies that he's told about himself. With that in mind, in this video, we'll take a look at some of the biggest lies that Hulk Hogan has said over the years. The lies extend from the most absurd to some that should just not be said. 1. Mike Tyson was scared to face Hulk Hogan in a boxing fight. Hulk Hogan is a big man, and in his life, he's achieved a lot. In fact, his own experience in the WWE ring speaks for itself. Be it through sheer personal magnetism, ability to portray his character well, or through backstage politicking, the man did whatever it took to be at the top of his industry. And he was. There was no one who could beat him, and he still holds records for one of the longest title reigns of all time. However, when it comes top of the world of real fighting, Hogan's resume is not as impressive. Or, in other words, it's non-existent. While he might like to feel like he's done a lot over the course of his life, and he's someone that an ordinary person would not last long in a ring with, Mike Tyson is no ordinary person. In his prime, he was one of the most feared and best boxers in the world. Hogan said that apparently while he was in WCW, there was talk about a pay-per-view fight between himself and Mike Tyson. However, it didn't end up happening. Talking about why it didn't happen, Hogan said that it was because Tyson was too scared of him and was too afraid to enter a ring with him, and that was why it didn't happen. Given Tyson legitimately bit off a piece of his opponent's ear once, this is very unlikely, and Jim Cornette also squashed it, saying that this never happened, confirming once again that Hogan was just lying yet again. 2. Hulk Hogan was going to have his name on the George Foreman grill. Among one of the odder lies Hogan said, he said that he passed up on the George Foreman grill, saying that he missed out on the opportunity because he was picking up his kids. He got to the school at 2:30 p.m. and his kids were excited that he was there early. When he got home, he apparently had a call on his voicemail recorder saying that it was Sam Pollmurder and that he had a grill and a blender and was going to call him and George Foreman to see who wanted it. Apparently, he missed out on the grill as Foreman had taken it. The grill took off and became one of the most kitchen equipments out there. Thus, according to Hogan, had he not gone to pick up his kids early, then he would have had the chance to be the face of the grill instead. I wasn't there to answer the call, so when I called Sam back, he said George took the grill. So basically, $550 million later, George got the lean, mean grilling machine, and I got a blender that when you put AA batteries in it, it would fart and then turn off, said Hulk Hogan. This is yet another story that has not been backed by anyone at all, and thus is likely that Hogan might have just made it up yet again. 3. Hulk Hogan and partying with a Hollywood star who had already passed away. Hulk Hogan is known for lying, but clearly he does not research much before telling them. One of the lies he told was that he partied with John Belushi after WrestleMania 2. That was in 1986. Belushi had unfortunately passed away in 1982. Thus, either Hogan was scammed by someone who pretended to be John Belushi to party with the Hulkster after WrestleMania, or Hogan was caught lying once again. Fans can decide which is more likely. Or Hulk Hogan claimed that Lars Ulrich and Metallica wanted him to be their bass player. Hulk Hogan is a bass guitar player. This much is true. However, when the wrestler said that he had a chance to play a gig with Metallica, that was too much for fans to bear. He said that he had received an offer from them, but had turned them down. In reality, naturally, as it turns out, this never happened. When Lars Ulrich heard about it and was questioned about it, he denied it all, saying that it was a lie and that they had never ever worked together. I don't know Hulk Hogan. I don't know enough about him. I'm not a huge wrestling fan. I certainly have no recollection of doing anything with Hulk Hogan. Hogan would be quick to adjust what he said soon after that, so that he didn't come across as a liar. He said that he had sent in a tape and had never had a chance to play for Metallica, and that it had been taken out of context. I heard that Metallica needed a bass player, and brother, I was writing letters, made a tape of myself playing and sent it to their management company, kept making calls trying to get through. I tried for 2 weeks and never heard a word back from them either. I was hoping for a call from them, but never got one. All the haters were like, "You never auditioned for Metallica." Of course I didn't, but I tried. This was very different from the account he had given earlier, where he not only had the chance to play for Metallica, but actually ended up turning them down. 5. Hulk Hogan was asked to join UFC. One of his more famous lies is that Hulk Hogan remembers that he was asked to join UFC in 1993. The founders of the UFC have already said that this never happened, as they never have ever spoke to him. Hogan's claim was that he was asked to join the company, but he ended up turning them down because of the violent nature of the sport. Campbell McLaren, who was known as one of the founders, tagged Joe Rogan, where Hogan had made the claim and said that it never happened. "Joe, I never wanted Hulk Hogan in UFC. No one asked him. Bullshit if he says different." He has spoken about it earlier as well, saying that Hogan was lying and that it had never happened. 6. Hulk Hogan said that he fought with Pride fighters regularly. On top of the claim that UFC had wanted to sign him, Hogan has made other outlandish claims about his venture into MMA as well. Hogan said that in the 70s he used to fight Pride fighters all the time for fun. However, in reality, this is sadly impossible, as once again, Hogan had not done his research. Pride Fighting Championships was founded in 1997, so around a 20-year difference in what is even possible. 7. Hulk Hogan on getting a Make-A-Wish kid a ticket to Summerslam. Hulk Hogan has without a doubt worked a lot for Make-A-Wish and seen many unfortunate kids' dreams of meeting him come true. He has dedicated a lot of time to it, and he's helped a lot of them. However, he has also lied about how much he has done before as well. Hulk Hogan said that he met a very sick Make-A-Wish kid in England and then got him a ticket to the SummerSlam at Wembley Stadium in 1992 so that he could see him wrestle in the main event. Unfortunately for Hogan, he didn't main event SummerSlam in 1992. He was not even in the company at the time, nor an active wrestler. He left WWE after WrestleMania 8 and then came back to wrestle in February of 1993. So even if he got the kid the ticket, it was not to watch him. But it appears that's exactly what Hogan was claiming, telling yet another lie, and this time involving a sick child in it. Hulk Hogan defies time and says he wrestled 400 days in a year. In his autobiography, Hogan said that he had once wrestled 400 days in a year. No, Hogan was not dumb. He did know that there were only 365 days in a year, but his explanation as to how he did it left people doubting his sanity. He said that he was wrestling so much and in so many places that he was flying back and forth across the international date line and was going to Japan as well. He said that his years were longer than 365 days, and he was adding days to his years. If I say I wrestled 400 days a year, it's no exaggeration. My years were actually longer than 365 days. There were times when I'd fly back and forth to Japan twice a week just to wrestle. It was nothing to wrestle in Madison Square Garden one day, then fly all the way to the Egg Dome in Tokyo the same day, because you'd gain 14 hours, and then fly back to the West Coast, and so on. So I could wrestle in Japan today, and then fly back across the international date line and land in another town yesterday. I was constantly adding days to my years. First of all, there's no record of him having wrestled in Madison Square Garden one day and the Egg Dome the next. It didn't happen. Second, it's a mathematical impossibility for him to do so. If he would have done what he claimed, he wouldn't gain 14 hours. He would lose 14 hours. His claim was not only a lie, it violated the basic laws of mathematics and geography. 10. Hulk Hogan says that he batted an extraordinary average in the Little League World Series. Again, in his autobiography, Hogan said that he was a fat kid when he was young, But what he did despite that is apparently legendary. He batted an impossible .714 in the Little League World Series. Or at least he claims to have batted that figure. He was not the established baseball player as a runner, but apparently he was strong. And with that, he hit a lot of home runs, which put him on the map playing for the Little League. He said that he was scouted by the New York Yankees and the Cincinnati Reds. He, however, naturally never got to make this a career. The reason? He broke his hand, and it was never the same after that. I was playing third base. The bases were loaded. I moved in on the infield. The guy stepped outside the box and hit one off the handle, and as it dribbled down the third baseline, I ran in. This was the bottom of the 7th inning and the score was 0-0, and I picked it up. As I threw underhanded to first base, I broke my arm. My arm was never the same. This is very impressive, but not true, as the Little League site would have a record of it. On top of that, there's no record of Hogan having ever played in the Little League World Series at all. He was offered a role in The Wrestler. The Wrestler is one of the best movies made about professional wrestling and was seen as one which could win several Oscars. However, this would likely not have been the case if Hulk Hogan had been acting in it. He said that he had been sent the script for the movie 3 times, but he said that he was not the right person to play the main role. He said he turned it down. When the script for The Wrestler kept coming to me, I said, this movie is so good, if you put me in the film as a wrestler, people are going to say no credibility. Hogan isn't a good actor. Whatever Hollywood thinks of me. As soon as they put Mickey Rourke in there, I knew it had a chance, and he did such a great job, it relit his career. He said that he felt Mickey Rourke was right for the job, as it helped his character as well. He also said that there were a lot of other movies that he turned down in the past because wrestling was going good, and he was on fire. He said that he got a chance to do a movie with Pamela Anderson, where she would fall in love with him, but he had to turn that down as well. Right before Pamela Anderson met Tommy Lee, I got this crazy script to do this incredible movie with her, where I play this cop with a young partner like Brad Pitt, who is in love with Pamela Anderson, and he gets killed in the line of duty, and she falls in love with me, and it gets really crazy. I turned that down. He claims to have also turned down The Highlander and Robin Hood Men in Tights. The director of The Wrestler shot down Hogan's claim on Twitter, saying that the role of The Wrestler was always meant for Mickey Rourke and never for Hogan, despite his claims. 13. Hulk Hogan says that he first saw Kevin Owens as the next big guy. Hulk Hogan has made a rather weird claim about Kevin Owens in the past, but he said that he was the first person to see Owens and point out what he could do in NXT. He saw him on NXT and felt that he was the man and that he would be the big guy in WWE. Well, I hate to brag about it, but I'm the first one to point the finger at Kevin Owens. I saw him on NXT, like his second match, and saw him just chop and beat and grind and beating his guy down and doing it the old school way and really understanding how to get heat. Doing it the old school way, and I said, that's the guy. I said, that's the guy. I don't care if he looks like a wrestler or looks like an ice cream salesman. I don't care. That's the guy. Hogan's statement is rather odd, given that while he saw Owens in 2015, Owens had been wrestling since 2000. He might have liked Owens when he saw him, but he was hardly the first. He was spotted by plenty of others, and that's why he was signed by WWE in the first place. Hogan was once again trying to take the credit for finding one of today's top wrestlers. Hulk Hogan says he met Carrie Von Eric just before his passing. The tragedy of the Von Eric family might be something that every wrestling fan is at least a little familiar with. If not, the coming Iron Claw film might help. Carrie Von Eric was indicted in 1993 for drug possession charges. He was on a 10-year probation at the time, and he took his own life at his father's ranch on February 18, 1993. According to Hulk Hogan, he saw Carrie days before he died. He said that he was on a flight with Carrie to Japan 72 hours before he passed away. This is again a lie. Carrie Von Eric was not going to Japan at the time. with the last time he went to Japan for a match coming 7 months before his passing. On top of that, Carrie was unlikely to be away from home because of the charges he was facing, much less in a plane with the Hulkster to Japan. Hogan may have shared many flights with Carrie Von Eric previously, but it's highly unlikely it was 72 hours before his passing. Hulk Hogan tried to bury the Undertaker, saying he had permanent neck damage. Hulk Hogan feuded with the Undertaker at Survivor Series 1991, and during the match, he hit Hogan with a tombstone piledriver and a steel chair. Hogan claimed that he had hurt his neck permanently during the tombstone. Undertaker grabbed me again and flipped me over and dropped my head on the metal chair in the nastiest tombstone of all tombstones. When he dropped that tombstone on me, my skull made contact with the chair. The jolt of the whole move threw my neck out. My neck, calves, shoulders, biceps, triceps, forearms, everything went numb. Taker apparently ran to the back thinking he injured Hogan. Hogan said that his neck never permanently healed from taking that move. However, for anyone saying the move, it's obvious this is not possible. The footage of the match shows that Hogan's head never came close to touching the chair below his head, and that the Undertaker had hit the move as safely as possible. Hogan would later claim that it might have been the Undertaker's knee that his head hit, but images from the moment show otherwise. Hogan trying to lie about the Undertaker injuring him is yet another example of rather odd choices he made. Hulk Hogan was offered the chance to buy UFC, not content with the chance to fight in UFC. Hogan said that he and Vince McMahon were offered the chance to buy UFC as partners. SCG was in talks to sell UFC to Vince McMahon in reality. According to Hogan, he was also involved. In reality, Shane McMahon tried to get Vince McMahon to buy UFC, but his father felt that the promotion had too much controversy and didn't want to get involved. Vince had meetings with Campbell McLaren and Bob Meyerowitz, but never talked to Hogan about it in reality. Hulk Hogan said that he broke his ribs in a match against The Rock. According to the story that was told by Hogan at the time, he was injured by The Rock when he took The Rock bottom during their match at WrestleMania 18. Oddly enough, it's true that Hogan was injured, but he was blaming The Rock for no reason. He was injured in a life event when he was facing Rikishi. He went into the match injured against The Rock, but he would only reveal this years later, after lying about his injury and how he got it. Hulk Hogan said that the NWO was his idea. Hulk Hogan has obviously claimed that he was the mastermind behind the NWO. The wrestler claimed that he was the one who thought up the group. In reality, it was Eric Bischoff, and inspired by an invasion angle in NJPW. Hogan didn't come up with it, and as mentioned before, had to take a lot of convincing before he even joined the Hill Group. Hulk Hogan said that Elvis Presley was his fan. Hogan has even claimed that Elvis Presley was a fan of his. Elvis was a fan of wrestling, this much is true, and he was even going to face Jerry the King Lawler at the Mid-South Coliseum. However, it didn't happen. Presley also died right before Hogan had broken into the business. He was never a fan of the Hulkster as a result. Hulk Hogan said that he never used steroids regularly. Hulk Hogan has himself said that this was a lie. Appearing on the Arsenio Hall show, he was expected to come clean about his past steroid use. However, when he appeared there, he showed a picture of himself as a kid, saying he had always been bigger. He said that he had taken steroids under a doctor's care to treat an injury. However, this was not true, and he said as much. He would later clarify that he regularly took steroids, talking about how casual it was in his autobiography. At that time, every wrestler I knew was taking part in steroid use in the WWE. They were part of my generation. I'm not making excuses, but they were everywhere. A lot of that had to do with what we knew about them, which obviously wasn't enough. The most commonly prescribed were testosterone, a decadurabolin, and Dianabol. I never had a question about whether I would take them. It was a part of my daily regimen. Did you take a shower? Yeah. Did you brush your teeth? Yeah. Did you take your steroids? Yeah. That was the deal. It was how I lived.